It's a place to talk about history, talk about science with Enzo, dig into the great unknown. Just come say hello, have some fun. It's the Karen Show.
Who's that man in the fancy shirt? Who's the man with the cheeky smirk? Who has the answers? Who can explain? Well, it's Enzo the science guy. Enzo the science guy. Ask him how, ask him why. Enzo the science guy. Please, Enzo the science guy.
It's time for history with Taylor. She's bright, smart, and has a heart for everything that's old. Her journalistic style is rare, a lady with a real flair for getting to the truth. So come on in, join us now for a chat about who, what, when, and how. It's history time with Taylor. Yes, it's history time with Taylor.
Watch The Karen Show. Friday nights, 6 p.m. Pacific. Saturday, 12 p.m. Australia. And for the UK, 2 a.m. Don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button so you don't miss out on upcoming content.
Hello, everybody. It's Saturday lunchtime here in sunny Queensland. And what time is it there, Enzo?
It is 8 p.m.
Oh, 8 p.m.
Well, in the Central Time Zone.
Yeah. Oh, and Carla's there. I'm just looking at everyone that's popping in. Oh, I can type. Sorry, Carla, I put the kisses too close to the end of your name. So who have we've got? Well, I don't know if Sky Talk is here yet, but she's intending on being here. And Betty's here. Hi, beautiful lady. Hope you're doing okay. Foxfire and Jethro. Who else did I see? Fairy Dragon and Sir Stash. I like that name, Fairy Dragon and Sir Stash. And Laura and Carla. And that's it so far. There you go. Can't complain, though. Can't complain. It should be. Hi, Kathy. Hi, Kathy. I was watching last night. There's another creator, Mythos, and I was watching his live. He went live and he was going to share a video and sort of watch it and share it with people. And you know how sometimes I put up a video and there's no sound. So I was trying to tell him in the chat how to fix the sound, but it's very difficult. But I said to him, I'll send you, it's just, you got to go down the bottom. It's in the settings and you got to pick the window, not the tab or I think pick the tab.
Little slider, little check.
Yeah. So I'll send him a couple of screenshots later, and because I forget sometimes too when I go to try and show him.
Why that's not, why you can't, why that's a StreamYard thing where why you can't set that to default to where it's always sharing if you want it to.
Yeah, rather than you put it up and then you go, oh, where's the sound?
Crap, I gotta close this. I gotta reopen it. It's just the many stressors of being a live streamer.
That's right. But I try not to stress anymore, Enzo. It doesn't keep you young and it doesn't help to stress, although that's easier said than done, I think. And Carla Horror reached her 1,000K subscriber mark yesterday or the day before. So congratulations. And I noticed she's getting a few viewers when she goes live, so that's really good. That's really good. And she and Carla can go live and just talk to herself as well, which is cute. She just blah 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 blah. It's good therapy, isn't it, Carla, to get up there and just rattle off a whole heap of stuff. I've got to be careful though, because I usually forget that I'm actually on like a live stream that could come back and haunt me later. So sometimes I say things and I think, oh, should I have said that? But It's getting a lot easier now, though, to be able to say things than it was a few months ago. Still difficult on YouTube because they still have those weird, you can't say certain words. They still have that, which annoys me because it means you've got to say stupid things instead of the exact.
Got to do baby talk to talk her out of topic.
Yeah, so I don't know why YouTube still does that, but anyway, hopefully they'll grow out of it. But yeah, I've seen other other platforms. There's Rumble, which I am on Rumble, but not really. Like I went on to Rumble and then didn't really do anything with it, only because it's getting used to using, because it is a different platform the way it works. So YouTube's kind of easy to navigate, whereas Rumble, maybe I just need to practice a bit more, but Rumble's a bit different. At least on Rumble, you can say anything you want to say.
Yep,
and you can talk about
you like there.
Yeah, nobody, don't get...
play a video clip and not worry about getting copyright strikes.
Would you believe it, people? Last week when Enzo showed us Carl Sager talking about the little blue dot, if you watched last week and we're talking about Earth, I finished about 3 hours after the episode, I get an alert, a copyright claim, blah, 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 you've got to edit it out. And I'm like, I knew that's what it would be, but I thought, oh, God. Oh, Betty, that's okay. Myself and other people that have gone through similar understand you're not going to be okay for a while, sweetheart. So it's not expected that you should be, but it'll be a while. All right. So you do what you do. You do what you have to do to relax and find something to make you happy again, if you know what I mean. It's kind of hits you down, grief, when you lose someone you love. It really knocks you down, and it's hard to find a reason to wake up tomorrow, which sounds really depressing, but it's just what it is. But you will find a reason. But it won't make the hurt any less, if that makes sense. Does that make sense, Enzo? I think so.
It does. It's the toughest thing in the world to have to deal with loss like that. But it is one of those things that.
Betty, is the son recent, or was that before? Because I know you've just recently lost your husband. Please tell me that hasn't happened recently. Otherwise, crikey, can we bundle you up in some cotton wool and give you some cuddles? And, well, you and I both know what it's like to lose a son then, and it's not fun. It's not fun. I've actually got here in front of my computer, I don't know if you can see it. Can you see that?
Yeah.
My son's hand and mine, but he had tattoos on his hand. He always got in trouble for that. I'd say, you ruined your skin. But that I took that photo when I went to identify his body. And I sat there with him for a little while, and it was really weird. This is going to sound weird. Oh, sweetheart.
Mm.
Oh, no. All right, well, then you'll know exactly what I'm going to say here and probably why I did it. Oh, Betty. I was holding Stephen's hand. Obviously, he wasn't with me anymore, but holding his hand, and then I squeezed his arm, and the ligaments still work. So if you squeeze, it does that. See, if you just squeeze and I sat there and did that because he was squeezing my hand back.
Yeah.
So grief is shitty, and now you've lost your husband and your baby. Oh, Betty, it's going to be terrible. But, this still happens. That won't go away. But bless you, Betty, and I'm so, so sorry. All right, I'm so sorry, Betty. Yeah. Shit. I hope. Look, you know what? Sometimes having people around isn't helpful. Sometimes it's good just to wallow. But hopefully there is someone around that can remind you of how important you are. And yeah, because there's no other words. It's all right, Betty.
Everyone grieves a little differently. It is one of those things that you got to take your time with it and just kind of, grips with it or whatever. Just know that you can't let it completely destroy your life. Give yourself a little time. That's expected. But there's still plenty of life left out there in the universe for you. We love you.
Yeah. I mean, I look forward to seeing Betty pop up. I notice when she's not there, because Betty is generally either the first or the second person to pop their head in, along with Kathy. So, yeah. But look, it's the start of the journey for Betty, really. And it's been 5 years since my Stephen left, and that doesn't get any better. That's a daily loss. That's never going to go away, and Betty will know that anyway. There you go. You're awesome too, Enzo. But yeah, but it'll never go away. But there'll come a day, hopefully, that sort of you'll wake up one morning and that won't be your first thought. It won't be your first thought. It might be your second, but it won't be your first. It's happened to me now. Now I wake up in the morning and I go, bloody dogs, get off my bed or whatever. And then I go about my business, and now it's gotten to a point where every day, but it's not the first thing that I wake up with. At the moment, Betty would be in that stage of it's the first thing and probably the last thing she thinks about when she goes to sleep too. So I'm here, Betty. Okay. And yeah, it's not a journey that you go on your own. And then I always too look at different things, and I think some people try to say, oh, well, at least this happened or at least that happened or whatever, but that doesn't help. It doesn't help. You're ready to, it doesn't matter how they went. It doesn't help that you say, oh, well, at least this happened or at least that happened. It doesn't help. But yeah, shit, Betty. All right. Well, let's try and talk about something fun and pick on somebody. I don't know. Who could we pick on? Who can we make fun of and to have a bit of a laugh? That's not nice either, is it? Let's be bullies. Yeah, I haven't been watching anything paranormal of late in the little paranormal world. It was just last night that Mythos did pop up live, because I like Carl. He's nice. He talks to me privately. He's a good fellow. I just wondered, because they went to the Ancient Ram Inn, Mythos, Beardo, Three Spears. Yeah, a few of them went there, and I just asked him the same thing. What did you find? Because while I was there, I don't think anything much happened. Like, I'm not even sure. It's a lovely old place. That's about it. And he just said the same. Yeah, nothing really happened other than when he had to go off in the dark by himself. But that's when you scare yourself, really, isn't it? It's kind of like you have these preconceived stories that are in your head that, oh, there's a demon there, and there's a terrible bishop, and there's a witch, and there's a succubus and an incubus and all this sort of thing. So if you're walking through a dark place, that's in the back of your mind, so you can spook yourself. But, oh, yeah, thanks, Jeffro. Yeah, oh, it was Mr. Gray, was it? Mr. Gray went as well. Yeah, but I don't. Look, it could be haunted by, I don't know, but nothing happened when I was there. And again, people say, oh, well, it's not like a show that it comes on it every day of every night. But no matter where I go, nothing happens. So, it is what it is. But it was nice to say I've been there, because it is such a well-spoken of place. Like, everyone goes there. But I did do a deep dive on the history there as well. Mythos was saying there's not much to be found, and he's right, because the stories are baseless. So the stories that they tell about the house, they are made up. Like, there's no basis for anything that they say. The house is not built in the 1100s. It was built in around about probably 1398. It was built, the first part of it. And there's records in the county there that will show you that, because they did a wood. They take the wood, and so I don't know how they do it exactly, but they core the wood or something and they can tell you where the wood came from by doing that,
Oh, yeah.
and how old it is. So the oldest piece of wood on the property that they could find was early 1400s, and it would have been, and which, when you go there and you look at the house from the outside, it's got it had to have been extensions put onto it. You can kind of tell the differences, which indeed there's records to show the extensions. But so it started out just a one level little building, and it's farm country and it's wool country. So their main the main produce from that area is wool. So there's hooks in the shed part that you can see, and I've heard different stories about the hooks, but the hooks are there because that's how they hang the the wool and all that sort of thing. So it was a wool shed of some description too, and the pagan stuff. Pagan burial grounds supposed to have been built on a pagan burial ground, but the records state that there's no proof of that, because there's certain people that go around and look for all that sort of stuff. That's their main job. And there are spaces around that area where there are some pagan burial grounds, but not where the house is. So all those stories are just over the years, probably since John purchased the house, have just, continued. Oh, good Lord. I thought you were going to get eaten by a man.
Like, what the hell's going on? Changing a bulb, apparently, during the show.
Yeah, he's very nice. When I was in England, Carl and I were going to try and meet up and do something, but it just never quite worked. Like, I'd be in one place and I'd say, well, I'm going to be there next week. And he'd go, oh, shit. And then there was one day he was going to do it, but his car was no good, and he couldn't take his girlfriend's car, and it was a kerfuffle. But yeah, he's a nice bloke. But yeah, so knowing all the truth about the background of the building, once you realise that it was really only ever a home where they produced wool products, had nothing. It wasn't built by slaves. Had nothing to do with the church across the road. Certainly someone might have boarded there at some point, who knows, because it did have other rooms. But for everything I could find, there was nothing at all to back up the historical claims made by much like a lot of houses, much like a lot of places make up these claims about hauntings and based on things, and it's just not true. What's that? Enzo's getting good sniff of that guy's armpit.
There's some stuff Axe body spray does not cover up. Trust me.
But if you're ever able to, if you're ever in England and you want to go and have a look at a beautiful old building, and it is like it is a very old building, and if it's haunted, it wasn't haunted the night I was there. There was nothing spooky. I had to walk up and down a few times by myself, and there was nothing. The scariest thing is the stairs going up. They're very steep, like they're old stairs, so they're sort of steep there. That was the scariest thing. Don't trip on the steps, Karen. But the rooms themselves, like being so old, you can sit there and you can just imagine the many people that have probably come in and out of those doorways and lived under that roof. So it was nice, just like most places are. They're old and they're interesting and they're nice. And and it was a pub.
It was the 1400s. You said some of the
it was built at the wood, according to the wood, 1400. I'm going off the top of my head now, 1411 or something. And they took the woods from nearby, so they knew all that.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So there is stuff to research, and if I had time and really been bothered, but once I realised the basic research of what I did showed up the truth, really. It's really not that hard sometimes to research places and find out exactly who, where, and when. And they've got records dating back as far as then as to who owned it, who lived in it. And it's generally, if they weren't working on wool, which primarily is what they were doing in the first place, then it's when it got turned into an inn, like a pub. And that went on. It was a pub until John, the owner who's recently passed away, until he purchased it. So yeah, I don't know, but that's why I was interested to see what Mythos felt while he was there. But he, much like me, nothing. So depends how you want to look at it. You can look at it and say, well, they're not performing monkeys. They don't do, ghosts don't perform on. No, they don't. But you would think, out of all the places I've been, you would think at some point something weird would have happened, like really, like absolutely. And yeah, so I reckon you've got as much chance of picking up a ghost at the Ancient Ramien as you have of walking into, for the English people's sake, a Tesco's or a Walmart and finding a ghost in there. Like,
well, some of the Walmarts I've been in, there's certainly been members of the undead. I don't know if they were necessarily ghosts, but
oh dear. Yeah, that's Jethro. That's what I like the most. Like I love going to these places because of the history. Like when I went to Stonehenge, that's sort of surreal because you see it in movies and things, or you see it in documentaries, but until you're there, you don't realise just how bloody big these things are. Like they're massive. I still can't work out how they got there, but I like, they're massive, but I liked it because all the little crows, the big crows that live there, ravens, I guess they are. They all live on, like you see them sitting on top, and some of them have got little nests in on top, and there's lots of sheep around there because there's obviously farmers graze their cattle there. There was an interesting thing off which I still haven't gone into. I took photos of it. I must look into it and do a little story on it. But when you're in the little bus, so when you arrive at Stonehenge, you go to a car park and there's a building and they've got a museum and a cafe and whatnot. You walk through that and you get on a bus which takes you up the road a little bit to Stonehenge. But on the way, if you look out to your left, heading towards Stonehenge, there's big mounds, like huge, big hills. They're burial grounds. So there you go. The bus driver said, oh, you might be wondering what those big mounds are on your left. He said, well, they're ancient burial grounds. And I thought, wow, just in the middle of a field where the sheep are eating and munching away on grass. So I must look into that. So there's definitely, and that would have been where their little townships were and all that sort of thing. So
right. Well,
who knows?
Isn't there a mound ring that goes around Stonehenge itself? It's like much larger. It's like way outside because I know you can't go right up to Stonehenge.
Oh yeah, no, I know what you're saying. Let me think. Let me visualize again. You walk around. There's a footpath.
There's supposed to be an ancient. It's part of the structure where it's an ancient earthenworks that goes around because they did the same thing in a lot of other ancient structures like that in the Nordic areas up in.
It's like from memory, it's sort of like you walk, the footpath goes right around the outside of it, and then there's a little fence that's, this high. Yeah. It's just roped off that goes right around it. And I think it's just sort of like the whole thing's on a little bit of a hill, but nothing massive. Like you don't look and see a hill and then see the Stonehenge. It's, but
Ian points it out what I was thinking of, where a lot of henges like that have a large circle that goes around it where it's a mound and then there's a ditch right underneath it.
Yeah, that's where the footpath goes around too. Yeah. But there's, like Ian's saying, like I say, just off to the side, just on the bus out the side, there's all these big burial mounds. There's and that's where, when you look through the museum, they say that the township would have been there as well, near so it's kind of like you think, well, who knows what they used it for? So many people have many theories, but It is interesting that you would supposedly, and they've recently discovered, I think it was, Ian might know, where the rocks come from. Some of the rocks are Scottish and Welsh. There's something about them being from Wales, but there's actually some stone there that came from Scotland, and they've only realised that lately. And I'm like, geez, that's a long way to bring rock just to build that.
This rock is so special. I'm going to drag it hundreds and hundreds of miles into here. Yeah, that's.
Yeah. I would
that kind of stuff, and I hate that there's old stuff like that we just don't have any true answers for.
No,
how they built it. I mean, something like that. That's not outside of the realms of an older culture building it. It's just a matter of dragging these big stones all that way just to put it there like that. It's incredible.
Well, I know in my time, this is just a really weird example, and you're going to go, huh? I've used in your garden. Sometimes you can buy logs, treated pine logs to do a fence with or something, completely round. I had a big chicken house at a house I used to live at, and I wanted to move the chicken house, but I couldn't drag it, and I couldn't move it on my own. It was way too heavy. The most I could do was sort of push up a bit and kick a brick under one corner, and then go around the other and push it up a bit and kick a brick under that. But there's no way I could even pull it. So I found some of the pine logs. They were 6-foot ones. So I thought, I'm sure this will work. And I put the log under the front, and I went behind and did the brick thing again behind and pushed another log, and I pushed that thing. It didn't even weigh anything. It was just whoop, and it went on the wheels. I just had to push it a certain way and then run around and put the other log. I kept having it. It took me a little while because I'm by myself, but I thought it made the cage not weigh anything. It was really light. So when they talk about doing that with the rocks and blah 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 blah, I don't know how they would have got the logs under the rocks to begin with, but if they did, it would have taken them a while to do, and why you would bother is beyond me, but it is possible. It really does make whatever it is sitting on top of those logs really easy just to, and I'm a girl, and I pushed this big heavy cage. So, and it just, but if I had have tried to drag it or any other, there's no way I could if it was too heavy. But once I put it on the logs and when pushed it, it was annoying, it would have been good to have someone else helping me just to continually have a log under the front. Maybe that's how they did it. Maybe that's how they did it.
And of course, you got to remember too, it's not like there were roads or anything back in those days. So it's just open. If you're lucky, it's just an open field that's semi-level that you can do that on. If not, you're going over ruts and other rocks and up and down hills at various points. Yeah, it's a lot.
Yeah, they've done a fair bit on it at the moment, haven't they, Ian? Discovered different things. So I count myself lucky that I've been to those places that I'll probably not get back to again. But I can at least say I've been there. I think it would be a nice place to be if you wanted to feel something spiritual about it, if you wanted to understand things, to be there alone, and there's probably some lucky people that have gotten to be there alone. But, I don't know. I'm still.
Do they still open it up during the equinoxes for the druids?
That's when tons of people come in. Tons of people. That's the day you'd avoid going there. It might be when it's supposed to all go down, but there'd be I've got a feeling it's like 1,000 or more people show up on those days. I've seen photographs of it, and I'm like, I'm not good with crowds, so that wouldn't do me any good at all. But and I went to a few places while I was there that I really enjoyed. I think the best thing, honestly, was all the old castles, the ones that are just remnants now, that are ruins, especially the one in Scotland. starts with D. Karen, what's it called again? Oh, it doesn't matter. It'll come to me later. But it juts out on the ocean, where William Wallace once massacred a whole heap of British soldiers. And I'm just sort of like, well, and they were in England, in Scotland, I suppose. So they were the enemy, whatever. But yeah, but that was really Dunbarton. Oh, I don't know. I've forgotten. What's Ian saying? Stonehenge comes alive when there's a crowd. I was there with 2,000, in 2000 with 25,000. See, 25,000 other people. Yeah, that'd be the energy from the people as well. Like, it's like when you go to a concert. You could watch a concert with someone singing and it's just you and a few mates, and then watch the same concert with a crowd and it's electricity.
Sweaty old hippies around you going.
Yeah.
Carrying on. Still though, I'd still kind of like to check that out. That actually sounds kind of cool.
Yeah, it was nice. Like I say, I was looking at all the little animals. It was only sheep and the whatever, a few different birds there, but it was nice. There's a man there who comes daily. He said he comes daily, except for there's one day a week where he doesn't come, but he comes and he feeds the ravens and they sit on his arm and everything. I was so jealous. But yeah, so I've been really slack. I haven't really done anything, and I really should, I suppose, because I've got so many photos and videos and stuff. But I can just talk about the different places, but it was just, nothing of a paranormal nature really happened while I was there that I can think of. Nothing, like everything. All right, hang on. Ancient ram in the feeling of someone jumping on the floor right next to me. That was weird. Almost a bit of, what was that? Well, it was. That's what I did. Oh, God, what was that? But it could have been, given the age of the house, it could have just been cold and like the wood, because when wood moves, it does make odd noises. Right. If you live in the house and you know the house, then you probably go, at this time of the night that happens because the fireplace is cooling down or whatever. So that's the only thing that happened there. We did EVP sessions, etc. And MJ did pick things up on her recorder, but it depends whether or not you believe in recordings. Like, some of it was a bit weird. Like, I don't know how those recorders exactly work, but we were in the bishop's room and I said something along the lines of, you don't mind us being here, do you? And when she played it all back, it said welcome, like a male voice said welcome. And I said, see, the bishop doesn't care if we're here. So, and a few times I spoke out loudly to perhaps John, who, again, the fellow who owned it for so many years and had so many experiences himself in that house. If anyone's going to haunt it and want to still be there after death, it'd be him, I would think, given his attachment to it. But nothing happened. So be it. No worries. I still live in hope that maybe one day something will happen, but I'm not worried about it anymore. I've gone over this before. That's the only good thing that came out of that house, is that I just came to the realization that we're not really supposed to know what happens after. You might as well stop asking, because apart from everyone getting EVPs and shadow figures that can still be questioned, and the door slammed, whoop whoop, could have been the wind. So I'm probably more of a skeptic now than I ever was. And so I still think most everything that you see or hear can be explained, and that can't be, all right, it's paranormal. But yeah, so I'm just an old Debbie Downer. That's me, old Debbie Downer. That's me. Dear. Did you happen to see any of the I haven't watched it. I don't know that I'm game to. The Saturday Night Live had their 50th anniversary, and we
last weekend. I didn't watch it, but I heard a little bit about it. That even like back in the old classic days, I always found a lot of their skits kind of hit or miss. Some of them outrageously funny, and they're funny for ages. But the most of them were usually not very funny to me.
Yeah.
But,
So I haven't watched any. I did. Is it Black Jeopardy? I think that's what they called it, Black Jeopardy.
yeah,
I've watched some of the older episodes of those before just by watching it. And they did the one with Tom Hanks, and well, he's caught nothing but flack for that. And even me
that didn't
watching
work
it,
out so well.
I'm just thinking, mate, that wasn't really funny. Like, it wasn't really funny. It was like everyone should be able to have fun made of them. That's 100%. Like if someone makes fun of you and you can't tolerate it, well then, crybaby, bugger off. But what he did was actually a little bit past. He pushed it too far. If he had just had the hat on and just done the whatever, that would have been fine. But the handshake part, that was, naughty. And I used to love
it. And to be fair, if there was something like a follow-up on the next bit of, something with like making fun of Kamala Harris not being able to hold a conversation or something like that, basic stuff, then it'd be like, okay, there's parody. We can be okay with that, but there isn't.
Well, even watching, I didn't watch the BAFTAs, but I watched highlights. And the doctor I just adore, David Tennant, made an absolute dildo out of himself. I'm like, dude, what are you doing? Like, he started off so well. He was singing a song in his kilt and all that. And then it was just like, speaking of villains, Donald Trump. And I'm like, oh, dude, seriously? And then he made another stupid joke. And I'm like, David, shut up. You're the doctor. Shh. But that's all right. You've got to be able to take some punches. You've got to, but it's got to be equal.
Chance again, because suppose we'll do the Hollywood Doctor Who Hollywood segment. Apparently, they're gonna let it die. They're gonna let it go. It's gonna be the season that's already wrapped up for this year, and that's probably going to be it for several years. They're gonna let it go.
Hi, Erwin. Lovely to see you. Diddly dee potatoes. That's diddly dee potatoes. That's my Irish accent.
Okay. I just started a. Oh, go ahead with you.
Oh, sorry. I'm just going to do my Scottish accent as well. Oot na boot. I'm dreadful. And this will be my Southerner accent. Y'all ready for some roadkill? I'm terrible.
What are you, Ellie Mae Clampett?
I used to think to myself, oh, roadkill, how disgusting. I think the first time I ever saw that was on the Beverly Hillbillies, and I'm like, what? And I'm thinking, if you're the one that hits the animal and kills it, like say it's a deer or something.
Yeah, it's a little different.
It's a little different. But if you're just driving along and you see something dead on the side of the road, you don't know, firstly, how long it's been dead for. And, like, see, even everyone loved my diddly dee potatoes. Look at that.
Circle back to.
So what were you saying? You were going to say something and I interrupted.
To circle back to the paranormal stuff, it's a book that actually Jess, our friend Jess, who's show here with us, recommended a book a while back. It's been almost like 2 years because I was like, man, I should buy this book. And I looked it up. It's like, wait, I bought it according to Amazon. I bought it in April 2023. I have this book somewhere in my house, but it's called The Agony That Remains. And it's from a paranormal investigator that was investigating. Originally, it was just going to be like haunted house type stuff in this small town in northeastern Oklahoma. But as he investigated, it's well outside of just a couple of spooky Scooby-Doo houses. It's basically kind of an area-wide type effect, sort of like Skinwalker Ranch, because there's sightings, there's UFOs, there's ghosts, there's reports of demons, and a bunch of spook lights, all that stuff. And it's actually not that far away from where Jess lives in her own little spooky town there in Caney, Kansas. only like 30 minutes away, I think, or something like that.
What's the name of the place?
It's I was trying to, I have like the Amazon site pulled up so I do the date, but it's called like Palousca, Oklahoma, or Hasaluka, or something. I don't know. It's one of those strange Native American tribe type names that I always screw up. But
like PUW, Pawhuska, Oklahoma. You said.
I've got the book in the other room. I'd have to go get it, but it's something like that. But it's historically wise, this town was basically near the end of the Trail of Tears run.
Is it this place?
No. It doesn't. I thought there was like a queue in there somewhere. I'd have to go get the book and look at it, but there's a lot of places that sound just like that, and that is almost direct, like within a 10-minute drive of like where Jess lives. But the particular place I'm talking about, whatever it's called, I forget, is near the end of where the Trail of Tears was. I don't know if you're familiar with that.
No, I know the Trail of Tears. Yep.
In end of the 1800s, there was kind of a big dust-up war with a lot of Native American tribes and the U.S. cavalry, and they basically, they lost the war, let's say, and they foot marched them across the prairies to this one spot here in the Central Plains states. I'm like, all right, you're gonna get that piece of land over there, that piece of land over there. And a lot of people died just on the travel, because they were just kind of death marching these poor folks all that way back in those days. And there's some pretty horrific war crime level type stuff that occurred during those times against the folks. So, which is what this paranormal investigator was originally going to investigate. It's like, there's probably a lot of, that level of energy in that general region already. And when he gets there, he's finding out, wait a minute, this just isn't some haunted house stuff. There's a lot of weird stuff going on in this whole area. And he's right, because that actually extends even up to, the little part of Kansas right up nearby there, like where Jess lives. So there's a lot of weird in that whole region right around there. But I just started that. I got like one chapter in yesterday. Didn't get a chance to get back to it today. So I'm just starting off to read it, because Jess and her friend Pam on their show here next Wednesday.
Okay.
Next Wednesday, we'll be covering that on their show. So Border Town Strange.
Yeah, Border Town Strange.
They'll be talking about that book, and so I wanted to try and get read up on it beforehand.
That's where I think a lot of times when it comes to America and the fact that all these Indian tribes were all over, all different tribes, but all with the basic same belief system, just variations because of they were tribal, but like their creation stories and everything were basically the same. But the way that the earth was treated was with respect and love, and let's move on here so we can let that grow back, etc. And then where they buried their dead, like it was very sacred. The earth was sacred to them. So when the white man came along and built on it and did all that sort of thing, that energy that was there, the reasoning behind all of it for the Indian people as opposed to the white man was very different. So you can understand how there'd be energy of some description possibly still there creating these things, and we're still not down. Like I was talking to Enzo people about the MK Ultra thing, the mind, I don't know, what do you call it, mind games, that
it's mind control, straight up. There's certainly like a lot of craziness that goes around some of those stories, but it was a very real thing. And is not the first time the federal government has experimented on its own people. And that's one of the most egregious ones, is MK Ultra. Literally grabbing like homeless people off of the streets and with the, of course, give them the upsell of, hey, we'll give you something to eat and a place to sleep and all that. and then they're dosing them with acid and injecting them full of all kinds of crazy stuff just to see how tortured they could make the minds of these people.
And they did it. They used the prison system in the 50s. That was where it started, the prison system. So they went into prisons and would start doing all these injecting them with LSD and all sorts of things. And I'm like, Christ, and they did a lot of really bad things. And they sort of say, again, rabbit hole people, if you go down the rabbit hole, but you get down to right down the bottom. I'm not sure if I believe it, to be honest, but they do say, for example, that Charlie Manson, when he was in prison before he got his, gang together, whatever you want to call it, that he was a CIA operative, I think. And I'm like, I think that's a stretch.
Well,
but
CIA operative means someone from the CIA kind of dosed him up and put a bug in his ear to go do some wacky stuff.
Yeah,
and, thank you to Tanya for putting a link to Agony That Remains in the chat while we're doing it. And hi.
Oh, there you go. Thank you. And hello, Tanya. And what was Ian just said something? Recommend the film Jacob's Ladder. Yeah, I haven't watched that, but I know which one you're talking about. Yeah, there's just so much, and it's. I know that there's always been subliminal advertising done. Right? Sometimes people make a joke out of it and slow the subliminal down and sort of, But I know there's always been a way where you watch something and there's a hidden meaning that you don't pick up, but somehow your brain picks it up. And it's amazing really how easy it is for the human race to be convinced to act and act and react in a certain way to certain stimuli. So that MK Ultra, pretty bad stuff. There is a book out on it. I just can't think what the book's name is at the minute. Oh, Candice Bergen talks about it. She's read it. But yeah, like it baffles me because I look at the current situation in the world and I think, how can so many people be brainwashed into thinking that certain things are okay? And I just think that has to be the answer. It has to be that so many people have been continually bombarded with information that their brain's given in. I don't know.
That's what MK Ultra was basic mind control of getting the populace to think a certain way or forget about a certain thing or be distracted. It went through, there's several different iterations and levels of it. MK Ultra is kind of like the grandmaster. The primary thing that they did back in the day was, using LSD and, just drugging people, straight up drugging them. There were other similar type mind control
getting them.
The Monarch Project was one where that was basically almost subliminally, they didn't realize it, but they're basically making young women into sex slaves for the most part, kind of against their will. It wasn't one of those things where they thought it was like their idea to have like the creepy gross guy come in and make sexual advantages and further that to its eventual conclusion, kind of a thing. But no, it was all mind control trickery on their part where they didn't really have a choice in the matter, kind of thing.
Well, it's funny too. I look back, and given it was only a few years ago, but I look back on the whole situation where we as a world were locked down in our homes, and all of us like little sheep did as we were told. And
that's programming too. Every time you turn the channel on, there's a death counter clicker going off in the corner of how many people have died and all that stuff, which it turns out that was never true.
Never true. And you think to yourself, and now of course, I'm waiting to actually see what happens. But the more that comes out about the jab, that I'm just thinking, shit, what did I put into myself? That was the thing. We weren't given a choice You were. In my field of work, you were given a choice. Either you want to keep your job or you don't. If you don't get the jab, you don't have a job. So a lot of people were in that position and sort of thought, oh, shit, all right, and went ahead and got it. But now that everything, like I look at myself and I think, well, it's kind of weird that, I got cancer last year. Like, who'd have thought? And it's kind of weird that these things are happening and people are dropping dead from heart attacks and young people. So I want to know, and also, and it is true for anyone watching, it is true. They do a breakdown of what was put in the injection, and they needed something in it that would bind. So the way it's got to bind, it's complicated to explain, but you get the injection, it's got to be carried from that site to other parts in your body. Some injections are supposed to stay sort of in the site, and others are designed to go throughout the body. Well, that was, but they had to figure out, well, how do we get it to go? So they took a little bit of the HIV virus. They took a bit of it, the binding agent of the HIV virus, and put that on the COVID one. And so that's how it binds into and gets and flows through. And I thought, if they had have told people that, just the mere mention HIV, even though I'm sure the part that they grabbed is not the part that affects your immune system, that it does what HIV does. But I just sort of thought, geez, guys, and you're pushing that now on our little babies, like, fucking hell.
Yeah.
So I'm looking forward to seeing, and actually I'm looking for it because somebody else has already said, hi, Stormy. Someone else has already said that there's a way that you might be able to basically kind of, I don't know how, that's what I'm still looking into, trying to basically, because it wasn't a proper immunisation, because it wasn't tested, because it isn't what it was supposed to be. Like, it was supposed to stop the spread. It didn't stop the spread. It didn't stop you from catching it, and it didn't stop you from giving it to anyone. So what do we take it for? But anyway, it was supposed to eliminate the bad effect on the body. But apparently, because it wasn't a properly researched injection that we all got, there might be ways to counteract it naturally, but I don't know. That's what I'm looking into, like basically cleanse your body of the shit that was put in. But
careful now. No. This is not, we are not medical doctors. We are
no. But that's what I'm that's what I want to look into and see if that's true. I can't remember where I saw it. And no, it wasn't on Joe Rogan. It was someone else. It was a doctor, and he said that you should be able to do this, that, and the other. And I'm like, I wouldn't mind reading that. But yeah. Let's have a look. Erwin, don't like talking about him. I've been going to God because of it. 39 years. Yeah. See, and that's the thing. Actually, Erwin, just a question. 39. Was he healthy as a horse, or did he have an underlying issue? Because a lot of the people, the younger ones, that's what they're saying. A lot of the younger ones don't have underlying issues, like the ones that have just had heart, like younger. I'm talking younger, that are having heart attacks. They haven't had. The older people, they have. There's been a lot of comorbidities or things that they've found after the person's passed that they've gone, oh, they had this or they had that. But yeah, I'll be interested to know. But we'll see. What's Stormy say? YouTube, who cares? No, well, I think that's why you've got Robert, Mr. Kennedy. He already knew, but anyway, we'll see what happens. Yeah, he already knew. He's looking into a few things, so that'll be good. Oh, thank you. Who's all wonderful? We are, or has everyone been giving you compliments which you deserve? Again, for those of you who've just come in, Carla got to 1,000 subscribers yesterday or whatever. There you go. Woo-hoo. Yeah, and she deserves it. She's a good girl. She's a good mummy, and she's a good girl. Oh, all right. No, we're wonderful too, she says. Oh dear. Sometimes
you're doing way better than I am YouTube wise, Carla. I cannot do it just by myself, just me being the only person on screen talking to like the audience or talking different things. I'm a conversationalist. I have to have somebody to bounce off of all the time.
Yeah, I just think that's how I see my time with Enzo now. As I say, I'll talk about anything really, but this is kind of like my weekly. I catch up with Enzo for about half an hour before we come on live, and I do my Karen rants with Enzo, and I'll rant about different things that are happening. And then there's some things that I used to just not want to talk about, but now sometimes I think we have to talk about certain things, and not in a bad way, no finger pointing or anything, but just that I think sometimes we do need to talk about certain things, and it's important. Like I shared a post the other day, another Australian lady's got a channel, and she was talking about the little babies that were handed back from Palestine, and I just sort of thought, you people, that's important. It's really important to take on board what occurred a couple of days ago, that you got to be careful who you think. You've got to just be careful about who you give your sympathies to, and you've got to weigh it up properly. But that was heartbreaking. And I watched a little video of those little babies, like, giggling and playing, and I just thought, and that was so sad. So sometimes I think it is important to touch on important issues, but then the world is pretty shitty when that's what you got to look at. So I try to not concentrate on the really bad things, but just every now and then just a little nudge, like, don't forget, like, this is pretty terrible, the negative spiral is hard not to get sucked into. I stay neutral and out of that. Life is hard enough. Yes. Yeah. Like, I don't get. Oh, there's Erwin's answer. What did you say? He was extremely healthy. We were both into bowling, but he had a heart condition. Bodybuilding though, he didn't do steroids, did he? That can affect the heart. Just saying. Was it a heart attack? I'd be interested in knowing. But either way, the jab probably had a lot to do with it. Just saying, if he had the jab. Did he have the jab, or did he just get the COVID? Interesting. Yeah, that's what I mean. Like, I watch what's going on in the world because I think it's important. Like, at the moment, we've got China. China is in between, Tanya, did you know? China is currently off in between Australia and New Zealand in our oceans, having war games with themselves. Like, they're doing something. So
between New Zealand and Australia mainland? What?
Yep. And so, like, what the hell? So as soon as I'll type off a letter today to Mr. Trump. Wait, down here. Look, the bullies. Yeah, see? So Tanya knows. Yeah. There you go. Yeah. See? Oh, yeah. See, Carla? Yeah. Exactly. That's why they're looking into what was in this thing, this jab. Yeah, it's because they still want Thailand. They still want it. They want to take Thailand, and it's just, they're just bullies. So we'll see what happens. Didn't know, was anti-drug. He wasn't. He was anti-drug. He just had problems with his heart. His son had to go to hospital. See, well, I hope his son hasn't taken the bloody jab. That's what I mean. Like, the jab itself, I think it's just that it seems to shine out these other, like, overtone. And that's the other thing. That's the other thing too, that the jab thing, the paperwork that you had to fill in after someone passed in the hospitals, if they happen to catch COVID, so you've gone into hospital, oh, my heart or whatever, I'm having issues here, I will pop you in hospital and run a few tests. They run a test and see that you've got the flu, right? Like flu. Well, on those forms, when you pass away, that's a question. And because if that's ticked yes, they did have it, they were diagnosed with having it, COVID, then it doesn't matter what you died of, it would be put on your death certificate as COVID being the cause. So it was like COVID-related death, death, which
They
gave
did the
out.
same thing here in the U.S. There
Yeah,
were people that died in car accidents, and they would test them
yep,
afterwards, and be like, "Oh, this guy has COVID," and they would put
yeah.
down cause of death COVID related is how they would word it. I think it's like he was in a car accident.
Yeah, I know. Yeah, my daughter had to have a blood transfusion, otherwise she would have dropped dead. So I'm thankful that they're there, but the vaccines, I'm not going to have any more vaccines now. I've done all the right thing. I was vaccinated as a child. I've done the polio. I've done the whatever. I've done all that, and I did what we were told. The next thing I think they're going to be on the thing for will be the chicken flu. What's it called? Bird flu.
Bird flu,
Um,
yeah.
yeah, they got another thing. I was saying to someone here, it's word out that if you've got chickens as pets in your backyard, they're going to start. I don't know when they're going to start to make sure that you register your chickens with your local council. So you've got to register how many chickens you've got. And I thought, yeah, guess what? No way. I've got 4 chickens. There's no way I'm going to register them. You can get stuffed, because I reckon that'll be the next thing, people. Mark my words. Mark my words. That'll be the next thing. Oh, you've all got to get immunised against that. There's no eggs anywhere because of the bird flu. Yet you won't see anybody with the bird flu. Like, and it'll be, oh, you've registered that you've got 4 chickens. Well, they're going to have to be euthanised. Well, it's just not going to happen, because I am not going to register them. Yeah, I got the COVID too, Tanya. I was pretty, and I had everything. I had all the boosters and everything. I still got the COVID, and it knocked me down a little bit. But the thing I hated the most about it was I lost the taste. And it's really weird that when you cannot taste food, when you can't taste anything, it's only the texture. So I was eating chicken, no taste, and the texture was disgusting. Or it's just really weird. That was the worst part. Do you know who didn't have taste? Michael, In Excess, Michael Hutchins. He had a head injury. He was beaten by a taxi driver or something, and he had a head injury, and he never got his taste back. Now, if he never got his taste back, I can understand how he went crazy. Like, imagine that, sitting down to have the most wonderful steak dinner or something, and you can't taste a thing.
It's just,
yeah,
you might as well be eating clay. It just doesn't matter. You would probably get super skinny, because you wouldn't be tempted to be like, oh, I got ice cream in the freezer, I'm going to go get some ice cream. No, it's just,
I have to admit,
energy you're putting into your mouth so you don't die.
Yeah, they are, Debbie. I saw, well, in America, Biden ordered how many millions and trillions of poor old chickens he ordered to be knocked on the head. It was a lot of chickens.
It was a lot.
Yeah, and I noticed here too. I think I shared it on my Facebook page. An Australian fellow here with his bee farms, and Australian Wildlife or something come in and said that his bees might have this particular thing, and they'll have to euthanize all of his bee hives. And I'm like, what? Bees are hard enough to come by as it is. Don't kill them. And so you've got to watch these government people. There's a reason for it. They're doing it, So the bird flu will be the next big thing, because guess who is working on a bird flu immunisation? Guess who? So I'm hoping, though, now we've got people in over there that aren't going to muck around with any of that shit, that won't happen. You've got to watch these bastards.
Coming up with, like, this is the new disease of the season kind of thing is ridiculous, because what if there was a legit, like, this is like killing a lot of people kind of thing if you catch it kind of a thing? you're going to get people that are just going to be like, no, I remember last time, screw you. I'm not doing any of that stuff now.
Yeah, I'm not doing any
going to
of
get
it.
wiped out. Yeah.
If they threaten me with jail, yeah, I'll go.
I never, to my knowledge, I never got COVID, because I've talked to a lot of people where it's like, there was one girl I knew that she's like, I felt like a little, she's like, honestly, I felt worse during having a period every once in a while I felt worse than when I actually had COVID, according to the tests. And then I knew other people that, healthy as a horse, and they came down, they would catch COVID and they'd be zonked for weeks.
Yeah. Yeah, I think it hit everybody differently. Like I had the COVID and it knocked me around a little bit, but not as much as when I had influenza A. I had influenza A and I ached and ached. My head felt like it was going to explode. I couldn't move. Like influenza A, well, it can kill you if you're elderly or whatever, there's no doubt. That's why when someone gets the flu in a nursing home, there's big things put in place, because it will go through the nursing home and knock off quite a few elderly people, because it's influenza A. It's really, really horrible. And if you ask me, so it was whatever. I don't know. And hopefully they'll try and find out what was put in it exactly and why those things that were put in the thing were really done. But that's going to take years of scientific, backtracking what they've done to figure out why it's affected so many, like the jab, why it's affected as many people as it has. And even the flu itself, because it was manufactured. So again, kind of, I don't know, would they call it back engineering? I don't know. What did you put into it, and what part of that is the one that's making people and young people have bowel problems, heart attacks, strokes? Like there's something. I mean, again, it could just be a coincidence, but it's a huge coincidence. What's Debbie saying? The WHO has veto powers to force lockdown mandates. Every country has FEMA camps in case it happens again, hopefully. Well, I want Australia to follow Mr. Trump's thingo and tell WHO to get effed, because they're the ones that knew all this bullshit before anyway. They're crooked as a bloody old man's house. Yeah, I don't like them at all. Oh, yeah, you've got to do this, you've got to do that. And it turns out they've got their little hands open too for the cash. So F them. That's my opinion. I think getting rid of them is a good thing.
Americans are fairly rebellious for a lot of stuff like that, and during even like the middle of all the lockdowns and stuff like that, where you couldn't go into a grocery store, a Walmart, or whatever, even though these places are open, you had to have the diaper on your face and the thing and the touching and the distancing and all that. I kind of miss the social distancing thing. I've never been a fan of the close talker myself. But, that one we could kind of keep, but when you got outside of the big city areas in the United States, got into the smaller towns and the rural areas, nobody was doing any of that crap. No. And they were fine.
I don't think they were doing it in Virginia City. What's that? Forcing, so I would rather be in the US because at least citizens have. I'm telling you now, I've been watching everything that's been going down intently. I've been watching everything. Everything I've been watching, and I've been watching what's going on with our own government here in Australia. I can honestly say for any Aussies watching, the Labor government that's in power right now will not be getting my vote. So I don't know who I'll vote for, but certainly not them. Just trying to do sneaky things like behind the I think what I like the most is at the moment in America, the American people have spoken. They have elected a man to power whom on his speeches everywhere he went, he didn't muck around. He said exactly what he would do when he got in, and he's doing exactly what he said he would do when he got in. So I think that's refreshing, because normally speaking, because if you look back, different people, like I was looking back at old things, there was Biden, Obama, Bush, all sort of saying, when I get in, We're going to check where all this government spending's going, and we're going to clean it out, and we're going to make sure that nothing's being misappropriated, blah, blah, blah. They got in, didn't do nothing. They got in. They didn't keep that promise.
Bill Clinton actually did some of that. Actually, one of his first things he did when he came in was he fired a whole bunch of federal judges, a lot of them. So that, which, Trump did as well. And now all of a sudden it's a problem. It's like, oh, hang on a second. What's going on?
Debbie's just saying something. Debbie, I'll try and get a little redhead, maybe a Barbie doll, and sit it next to him. There is a party here called One Nation, and there's a lady called Pauline Hanson, a redhead. She's been around for ages and ages and ages. She started out, she was a businesswoman. She owned a fish and chip shop up here in Queensland, and things weren't going too well in certain regards. She started to get political, and now she is the front runner of the One Nation party, and everybody makes fun of her. Everybody, mainstream. So if you turn on the TV here in Australia tomorrow and Pauline comes on to talk about something, they always wind her up, and they always try to make her look like an idiot, or criticize her and make her sound like she's racist or something. And I'm like, she's not racist. She's not stupid, but she's kind of like Trump was. She's against all this stuff that the other parties are doing. So because she's against what they're doing, and because she wants to put Australians first, and she doesn't want to stop immigration, she just wants to stop it for a minute, because we're not able here in this country. It's really hard. Housing at the moment is in a terrible, there's homeless people everywhere because there's not housing to rent. People can't even afford to rent anymore. Like, it's really bad here. And unfortunately, it's got a lot to do with the fact that millions of immigrants are coming in, but the government's not considering the structure of the place. Like, okay, we're letting them in, but where are they going to live? And then, like, it's a big thing, and it's happening everywhere. England, America, it's happening everywhere. So she's been doing that. So people trying to make her, paint her to look like an idiot, which is a bit sad. But then they did the same thing with Trumpy. So that's why I don't watch mainstream anymore. I just watch everything behind. And it was actually she who picked up, I think it was about 2 months ago now, the current Prime Minister tried to pass a bill in Parliament to stop us from free speech on our, like England's doing, on your Facebook and everything. You're not allowed to make bad comments about the government, or you're in trouble, like a legal thing. And luckily she knew it was coming, and they put a stop to it. So, there you go. All right, let me see. Ian, he is not, and he did not. And stop watching normal TV. He wasn't connected to Project 2025. Oh my God! And he's not enacting any of it that I can see. He's enacting exactly what he said he would when he gave out speeches. So I don't know, but you can find out the parts of it and let me know which ones he's enacting. I just think thank fuck. And I can tell you now, if America gets to be as good as I think it's going to get, I'd be very tempted to move over there. I just don't know what I have to offer America. I'd have to open a coffee shop. Because let's see. The but they're going to go in anyway. Are you talking about he wants to go off to Fort Knox? He's going to go off to Fort Knox and check the gold's still there. Imagine if it's not.
I'm really surprised at the number of people in the United States that are like, there ain't no gold in there. I'm like, really? You think? I
don't know. I mean, they've got a job to do there. I mean, Fort Knox, like, has the old saying goes, everything is, whatever it is. But yeah, I don't know. Yeah, it was stormy. It was. Price of eggs in America is terrible, as it is here too. Our eggs have shot up because, how many? It was under Biden that they ordered the killing of all those chickens, and that's what brought on the egg crisis. So thank you, Mr. Biden, for doing that. And here in Australia, it was our current Prime Minister. Thank you, Albanese, for doing that. He ordered the death and destruction of a lot of chickens. So you kill off where they're all coming from, people are going to run out of eggs, and not everybody wants a pet chook. Everybody honestly should have a pet chicken. They're so easy to keep. They weed your garden.
I'm seeing about 100 million chickens.
100, yeah, it was tons.
Yeah, 100 million.
Yeah, tons. Yeah, Diabolical Debbie's got a great channel. Go check it out.
I am going to go check it out.
Oh, they are. Diabolical. Well, maybe you and I can move to, you can come and live with me in Virginia City. There you go. We'll buy one of their old houses there, get some chickens, feed the wild horses, and oh dear. What's the matter? So you think it's all right? I think we've had one case of bird flu, maybe here in Australia. And for that, they knock off all the chickens. Like, get a grip. Yeah, I don't know. It's just you got to watch these people. There's a reason for it. I bet you Pelosi's got an interest in the. Well, they all have an interest in this new bird flu vaccine being currently manufactured and rushed through for the populace. So yeah, I'm not having it.
Yeah,
I'm not. I kiss my chickens. I do. I pick up my chickens and I go and kiss my girls, and I haven't caught anything from them. So there you go.
I'm sure they're delicious.
Yeah. Yeah, Diabolical Debbie. She's got a great channel. She does some interesting things. I like it. But yeah, so it's all very interesting. But
oh, there you go. She's got a plan for you there. Haunted house.
Karen, you own a haunted house and lease it out to paranormal. Oh yeah. Oh, well, we have to make up a backstory for it though. So you have to remember that every haunted house has a bullshit backstory. So let's see, what could it be?
Well, it's in Nevada. You could have slot machines and everything else in there. You could have gambling.
I could do all that. There's a few empty stores in Virginia City, a couple, not many though, but when you go shopping in Virginia City, it's the normal sort of like there's a silver store, there's crystal shops, there's dress shops. There's no, just FYI guys, there are no hairdressers in Virginia City. Nobody does hair. There's no hairdressing salon, not even a barber. You got to go down into Carson City or Reno. So for anyone who does live in America who's thinking of a sea change, even if you worked out of your house, if you're a hairdresser, there you go. Shapeshifter, hello. Is Karen Irish, Scottish, or an Aussie? I'll let you guess. This is my regular voice. This is my Irish voice. This is my Irish voice. Diddly-dee, potatoes. And this is my Scottish voice. Boot in the boot. You tell me.
I was going to guess Boston, but I guess I'm wrong.
Boston. Yeah, I'm an Aussie. What's that say? Watch Demonic Possession. I've been told it's one of the scariest so far. Yeah. Go over and check out Debbie's channel. It's pretty good. Hang on. What's Tanya saying about her chicken? Our main chicken farm in South had to be cold as they got the bird flu, so our eggs. See, I'm telling you now. You mark my words. It's going to be my new thing. Mark my words. Maybe in 6 months' time, some BS is going to come out that anyone who's got pet chickens, you've got to put them down because of bird flu. Oh, and Pfizer's come out with this new immunisation. We won't have to lock everybody down if everyone just gets the immunisation. And this is where this is leading people. Mark my words. It's not a conspiracy theory. It's almost common sense. I bet you that's what happens. Except hopefully it won't because people in charge now in America will not let that happen, I hope.
Just
because
I just Googled how many have been infected from bird flu. As of February 21st, that's today, 68 people in the United States have tested positive for bird flu, according to affiliate.gov. Most cases have been mild with symptoms like pink eye, fever, or mild respiratory issues.
And how do they know they're getting them from the chickens?
How
do you know? Because you can get bird flu from your pet parrot. Did you know that?
It can be any bird. Yeah.
Right. So what are they going to do? Start telling people you've got to kill your cockatoo or you've got to kill your pet parrot? It's not chicken flu, it's bird flu. Like I've known someone and usually the bird flu comes from when you keep your pet parrots. Because I've got pet birds, it's very important to clean their cages out regularly because all that dust from their feathers and their poop and everything, breathe that in and that's how you'll get sick and that's how you get the flu, right?
And that's always going to be the case for time immemorial. I mean, even worse with certain things like bats or something like bat guano is very, very bad to breathe that in. That's where we get the term batshit crazy because you're breathing in it dries up and then becomes aerosolized when it blows around in the wind. You will go bananas. It'll eat your brain away.
Well, that's what I mean. There's so for them to say it's coming from the chickens, how? And now are they insinuating it's in the eggs? I don't get it because bird flu is generally always picked up through the dust.
I don't think it's in the eggs. It's just if you kill all the chickens, they're not laying eggs, which causes the price to go up because it's a supply demand thing. But because we do I know chicken is that's my primary source of protein. That I eat an apocalyptic amount of chicken. Most Americans do because it's cheap and widely available.
I'm sorry, I'm just reading this. Sweet baby Jesus and the almighty three-legged donkey. Look, I don't know. I've just given up now because I know there's a lot that goes in the background that we don't know about, and I just think it's at the moment. I wish that what's happening in America at the moment. I wish would trickle down here and people would lose their jobs and the coffers would be opened up to see exactly, because we have the same thing here. We've got people that are public servants that get paid a public servant's wage, which isn't a bad wage, maybe 70 to 120,000 a year. Some of them are on more, but yet they're millionaires. They live in really swish areas and have got $1 million properties, and I'm like, how do they do that on a public servant's wage? Well, that's just the trick, isn't it? They don't. They're up to monkey business, and I just like that what America's doing at the moment, showing how it's just brilliant. It's like a wonderful ongoing soap opera. Tune in every day to see who's going to be in the shit next, and it's all the ones that have done the dirty that are screaming the loudest. That's all I'll say. And trust me, guys, I've gone way past the rabbit hole. I'm down there with Alice in Wonderland right now. I am just walking through it all going, what? How? What? What? And I'm like, geez. So it's going to be so cool to see, who they get. Yeah. Oh, yeah, for sure I did. Yeah. I had someone told me, what did they say? They sent me a whole heap of stuff and said he's done this, he's done that. Ian, bless him, but the Project 25 and the blah 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 blah. And I'm like, dude, where are you getting? Where are you getting this from? Because if you actually don't watch mainstream TV, so if you don't watch any of those big channels, and you actually go in and research things properly and go to people's actual interviews and go to watch properly, take the time to listen to an interview that might go for an hour, and then you realize what mainstream TV has done, and they've taken a snippet here or a snippet there and it's BS. It's, what's the word? Propaganda. And I used to laugh at that word, propaganda, because it's sort of like something you see in the movies, but it's true. And it's amazing. And the other thing I find really interesting is it doesn't matter how many times. So I don't know about you, Debbie, but I've had people present me with an article, and it'll say, so-and-so did this and this and this and this. And I'll go, oh, yeah, I know what that is. And I'll send the link to the actual interview that came from and say, now watch this, and you'll see that what you've just sent me is absolute manufactured and BS. And they don't watch it. They just rant back. They just rant. And they don't know how to speak. They just know how to yell. It's really weird.
Oh,
it's really
yelling
weird.
over top of you while you're trying to have a conversation. Like, what about this? You go to answer, and it's like, it's like, did you want to answer? Never mind.
Yeah. like, look, you don't have to like Mr. Trump as a human being. That's all right. Personally, I don't know him. So I can't say if I like him as a human being or not because I don't know him. Neither does anyone else unless they're his mate. But judged on what I've seen over the years from being younger, I've watched Trump when he was an entertainer. So, he'd appear on talk shows and or award shows and do little skits. It's Saturday Night Live. He was on that a few times. He knows how to take the mickey out of himself, like he does. He makes fun of himself all the time. He knows how to do it. He's a very funny man, and that's where I knew who he was. And then when he started to run as president, I thought that was a joke. Like, I didn't think that would be real, because why would a billionaire who's got billions, he doesn't need to ever work another day in his life. Why would he bother? But then people were coming out making fun of him, like they do with our Pauline Hanson. They were starting to then turn the narrative. So someone that they used to love watching and laughing at or with, all of a sudden they were demonising him. All right? So it started to spin back. And I was watching it and I thought, oh, is that true? Is that true? And then I'd look it in and I'd go, well, that's not right. And, well, what they're saying there, they've forgotten to say this, that, and the other. And that was the first time he got elected that I watched all this. And I thought, you guys, to myself, I thought, the funny thing is, the more you pick on him, the more people are going to side with him and feel sorry for him, and probably just out of spite for the nastiness coming from the other two sides, they're going to vote for him. And they did. He got in. And I couldn't believe it. I thought, wow, And that was the bad thing, is that he didn't know anybody there. And he said that himself. He didn't know anyone in Washington. So he had to listen to people that gave him advice and trust that they were giving him honest and truthful advice, which has come out that a lot of them didn't. But this time he's prepared, and he's gone back in there and he's really prepared, and he's got some good people on his side. So far as him concerned as a human being, I personally haven't seen anything horrible that he's ever done to anybody. Nothing. And then they bring up he's a felon. No, read it properly. He didn't do anything wrong. And you have to look into what was done to get him to the point where he was in court. And if you do that and you research the reasoning behind it, you'll see that probably at some point that won't even be a thing. And then people go, oh, he's a grape person. I won't say the word. That he took bunches of grapes. I don't know. But I'm like, go back to that woman's original interview and all that sort of thing. Like, how much has she been paid to change her story? And I don't give a shit. Like, I really don't give a shit about what he does in the bedroom. That's not any of my business. And then they'll go,
billionaire playboy. Huh.
No. And then
actually.
he's racist. Really? Like, the only thing I've ever seen is really good stories where he's helped people out, like the lady that was homeless outside of his building, a black lady that was homeless outside of his building. She's not homeless anymore. I don't know if she's still alive, but he gave her a room in Trump Tower. He gave her a place to live.
Parts of award ceremonies with Muhammad Ali and Rosa freaking Parks. Are you kidding me?
Yeah, like he said. So unfortunately what happens is that people just believe what they see and don't research it
Believe what the
themselves.
TV tells them. Yeah.
So you turn on the television, you see your favorite news anchor, whoever they might be that you happen to like, and they say, blah, 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 and you go, oh my God. And that's the end of it. Instead of going, really? Let me look into that a little bit more, which I do, because I always think, what? Like the Project 2025. Even the guy who wrote it said Trump had nothing to do with it, but you can't believe that because he's Trump's friend. Obviously, he's going to say Trump had. I just get flabbergasted. So what I find is that anybody on the side of hating Trump, like I say, if you don't like him, if there's something about him that rubs you up the wrong way, that's okay. Not everybody likes everybody, but if you don't like him because you think he has grabbed a handful of grapes or you think he's a racist, or you think, well, then you need to re-educate yourself, because that's not true. That is what the other side has hoped you would believe in order for him not to be where he is now. And I just think it's shameful. So anything can be said about anybody to make them look bad. And if you just listen to what's being said and don't investigate yourself, and I can tell you now, sometimes it really is hard to research these things. Depends how you research. And you do a Google, for example, you do a Google search, all that'll come up is the bad stuff because of who owns Google, right? But if you can get into things that they haven't got into, like actual articles or interviews, what I like to watch. So I'll get into an interview and watch someone being interviewed and discuss different things, or legal eagles who describe how a court case actually goes together. And when you listen to about how that court case went together for Trump in New York, it's as clear as day what it was. But people don't want to believe that. People just want to believe he's this bad human being who his wife doesn't even love him or whatever. I had someone tell me that he met his wife in a strip club, and that's how they met. I'm like, good income, like, and they believe it. They believe it because the person on TV that they watch all the time said so. And I'm like, oh my God. Oh my God. But anyway, does that answer your question, Debbie?
Yeah. Everybody's starting to tune out, I think. It's
yeah. I don't know. No, well, no, I don't think so. I've got hello. Hi, Kristen. I've got my Virginia City Sadie here. Yeah, she there you go, Debbie. She likes him too, okay? But there, you asked Debbie, and that's my answer. I just, if ever anything happens and my faith it dissipates, but I highly doubt it ever will. But
I saw on Twitter X earlier today, someone kind of made the joke. It's like it was a UFO guy. It's like, I'm holding out for Trump to rename the Bermuda Triangle the American Triangle.
Yeah, and, why not?
So, there you go. You'll get the paranormal folks on your side, I guess. That's good. I thought it was funny.
They brought them to Mexico. Well, when did they do that, Ian? And where was that? And I'm sure they haven't deported them. But just because they're Indians or Native Americans doesn't mean they haven't broken the laws. They've probably just been in with some bad people and they're back where they should be. So let me know, Ashley, because I haven't heard that story. But yeah, no, I don't even know that. That's a problem too. You don't know what's truth and what's not anymore. But
yeah. A mess.
Yeah. Oh, what did you see, Erwin? I saw a bright orange circle in the sky the other day. It was amazing. I think it's called the sun.
The what?
The what?
That sounds like a conspiracy theory to me.
I don't believe you. I want to see a photograph. That's the annoying thing.
It's all blurry and out of focus, isn't it?
I know that you can get, it's annoying to me, you can get a good photo of the moon, but you just can't get a good photo of the sun because it's too glary.
Well, I have the tech to get a good picture of the sun. You've seen me.
Well, you did. Yeah, you did. And you saw that, what was it, the eclipse thing that we talked about? That was last
solar
year,
eclipse. It's a couple of years ago, I think now.
Tanya, you're not getting cheeky, are you? Actually, I haven't seen any cheekiness from Tanya this morning.
I know. Are you feeling all right? Are you the real Tanya? Been hacked.
Do you know what? Maybe the sun is a flying saucer. Maybe that's what it really is.
This time of year, it would certainly be unidentified. I haven't seen it in a while. It's been very overcast and snowy and cold the last week where I live. So,
yeah, even photos that I've seen out of Virginia City, like snow everywhere. Like I'm just like, oh. But anyway, we're heading into warmer weather now. For us, we're heading into cooler weather. But it's a beautiful day outside today. The sun is shining.
good.
I think what I was talking about before actually probably goes into the Karen rant.
It was certainly a rant.
It was a rant.
Yeah.
But that's because
I am definitely ready for winter to be over. It's it's not that it really changes that much with my hermit lifestyle, but it would be nice to have the option to go outside and walk around and not be freezing to death.
Well, that's why next week I'll be driving. I've told Enzo this, but next week I'll be driving down to Canberra. So there may well not be a show next week, people. I might do something through the week or whatever to make up for it, but I might do that. But there won't be a show Friday night because I'm heading down to Canberra to meet for the first time my little grandbaby, which I don't have a photo of here, but she was born on the 13th of January. So that's my son that is still with me. His wife, they gave me little Stephen. So I've got a grandson, but now he's got a little baby sister. So I'll be driving down to Canberra and spending some time there with the new baby. But I'll try and do a show through the week. Maybe I'll do that, Enzo, if I've still got a channel.
You keep yapping and you won't.
It doesn't matter. There's always Rumble. If I ever do disappear from here, people just head on over and find me in Rumble. I think it's still called Doof Doof though over there. I haven't looked at that in ages. Dear, 36 Celsius here. 36 where you are at the moment, 97 Fahrenheit. Oh. Yeah, it wouldn't be. It's only probably about 29 here. So I don't know, what would that be? 80 something. But yeah, it's good weather. But I like it better when it cools down. Yeah. Congratulations for what, Debbie? What have I done? We'll talk about the celestial planetary lineup. Oh well, I don't think Enzo's got anything to talk about this week with
Enzo's
stars and things. Hang on.
Where we talk about celestial panel lineup at the end of the month. Oh, well, we've actually been into that. We actually covered that a couple of weeks ago.
Yeah, we did.
It's still out there, and it's ongoing for a couple of months. But the big news, I guess, if we want to get into it, there's been a lot of talk about a certain asteroid that may hit the planet. Asteroid 2024 YR4. Which just yesterday, NASA finally came. It's gone up and down as far as the severity of it, or actually percentage chances of it actually hitting the Earth in like 2032 or something. I don't recall. But the highest it ever got, I think we got to like 3-point-something% chance of it hitting the Earth, and it was only discovered back in like the very, very end of November. Of 2024. So they've only been able to look at it for the last couple of months. It's gotten a lot. Of course, the percentages kind of like jumped up by multiples, but still we're in the single digits. So relax, everybody. But they came out yesterday and said, okay, we've gotten a closer look at it. It's more like a 0.28% chance of it actually hitting the Earth. It's going to be close. But to be honest, we get close stuff all the time, like within the moon's orbit, close. And this is just one of many. There's a site that I've pulled up on this before, where it's you can just Google next 5 asteroid.
Yeah, you've shown that before.
We've covered it here before, where it shows you, and it's like every single day, and that's the top 5. For like that day. ranging anywhere from car size to bridge sized. Most of them are like in the millions of miles away, but there's some that are like well within like the moon's orbit. It's like that's
well, that's what a shooting star is, isn't it? A little bit of something.
No, well, that's very, very small. That's the shooting star stuff you see is like gravel. Now it's gravel that's moving at 20,000 miles per hour and hitting the atmosphere and burning up. But it's not like the particular one, this 2024 YR4. I forget exactly how many meters it was. It was like it was about the same size as Bruce Willis would say. Yes, right. We'll blow it up. There's going to be cases where you don't want to blow it up, though, if it's heading straight for us, because now it's just a shotgun blast. Instead of one big one, it's millions of smaller ones, which isn't necessarily a good thing. But the actually is brought up a good conversation where we talked about that kind of thing. Is what do you do to deflect that? The NASA's DART mission last year that we saw, where they actually slammed a satellite into a small asteroid and were able to nudge it off its original trajectory. The clue is you got to get to it early. You got it in its early part, because does the asteroid have a sun? Tell it to come over here. You could certainly get heated up if you had the asteroid land nearby. But this asteroid that has been in the news the last week or so is a little bit bigger, not by much, than the one that created the meteor crater in Arizona, which I got to visit a couple of years ago. I think I have one of those as a background, as a matter of fact. Yeah, this is the meteor crater right behind, where it's like 3/4 of a mile wide. And was an iron style meteor, or an iron type meteorite, where that one just punches straight through and it's like a bullet. The aliens will save us. I've always heard that over the years, as far as ufology goes, where the aliens would protect us if there's ever a nuclear war or the dangerous comet or whatever it is. It's like I don't think that's true.
No, I think they'll just stay hidden under Earth like they are already.
That's right. Well, that's those aliens.
Those aliens,
people, deep within the earth.
The lizard people.
That's right, with their pizza with bugs on it. But so it's is Will Smith busy?
What's he gonna do? Punch it.
Gonna say welcome. Gonna punch him in the face and say welcome to Earth. But yeah, there's a lot of things that could be done. Like in this particular instance, the 2024 YR4 asteroid that we're talking about, which would hit the Earth in 2032. We've got a little time, so we've got options. There's a lot of them, some of which it sounds weird, but it should work, where you actually paint half of the asteroid white and half of it black, and the way that the sun reflects off of it, the white side would actually get it pushed out away further from the sun, because it's reflecting more of the light, which is energy, which would cause it to slightly push out, which you don't need to nudge it much, to alter its course from hitting us, a dozen years from now.
Well, that's what, but isn't that what President Reagan, why he put his Star Wars thing together? Was it Reagan did that? I'm sure it was Reagan, because his idea was...
Well, that was originally honestly, it was a ploy kind of a thing against the Soviet Union. It was a Cold War thing.
But the point was that they should be able to turn the missiles and hit an asteroid and hit it away or deflect it.
That was the thing, is it's one of the things that actually ended the Cold War, because the Russians were trying to outspend whatever this Star Wars defense stuff that he was talking about. What he was talking about was basically having like spaceborne lasers that would shoot incoming missiles from the Soviet Union, kind of thing, rendering them inert, or at least destroying them before they reach their targets. which never was going to be a thing. It never worked. We still don't today could necessarily do something like that on that level. But the Russians didn't know that and they spent a ton of money. Just that was the thing between during the Cold War, Americans would go for like the high tech, high speed answer. Russians would just go for the blob type of effect of just raining down, a lot of cheap missiles or cheap tanks on a battlefield versus less tanks, less missiles that are high tech and more accurate kind of thing, which was the American approach.
Sorry, I'm just, I don't know. There's something sparkly on my head now for you, Tanya. Here's a question: if the Earth only has one moon, why do other planets with low life forms have several? Oh, it's just the luck of the draw, isn't it?
Well, for the most part, yeah. Plus the ones that have several moons are large, very large, so they can actually support their own little ecosystem of moons. Jupiter, and of course Saturn has rings. Those are all little teeny tiny moons circling in a very specific orbit that form the rings. So it's a matter where size matters for your moon placement.
Yeah, I'm a fairy princess now. Okay, Tanya. Yeah, I was thinking, someone mentioned hollow moon before. I was watching something the other day, and some fellow professor, blah, 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 was talking about the fact that he thinks the moon is hollow. And I'm like, yeah, and the man in the moon lives there and he eats cheese all day. I'm like, it could be hollow. There could be, I don't know. There could be.
Well, there's the famous, NASA back in the late 60s, early 70s during the early Apollo missions, where they would have checked off the LEM part before they headed back to Earth. And when it hit the moon, in their words, it rang the moon like a bell because of the reverberations of that impact, meaning that there's at least, it may not necessarily be a hollow shell like an eggshell, but there could be large cavernous areas underneath the surface. A lot of that. I mean, when you look at the moon, those dark spots you see are actually old volcanic plains where that was all, millions and millions of years ago, with large impactors crushed into the surface of the moon and made giant magma fields out of it, where it was just molten rock. And that's what we see today is those dark spots, called mares, Latin for seas, because back in the early days, that's kind of what it looked like to a ground observer, where it was like oceans, kind of a thing on the surface of the moon.
Actually, Enzo, a question or an observation by me. But so how there's the conspiracy theory that that Aldrin and Armstrong never did land on the moon, that it was all in a film studio. Let's just say for a second that's true. How did the American flag get on the moon then, if nobody went to the moon to put it there? Because you can see that in pictures taken like so. So how can that argument be sustainable when there are, through a telescopic view, there are pictures of the stuff that was left behind by them on the moon?
There was actually recently images from a probe from India, the Chandrayaan-2 orbiter. I'm trying to pull up the pictures real fast, and I'm not being very successful, but they took pictures of the original landing sites, the Apollo landing sites, and you can see the original, like the base of the lander and some of all that stuff. We have certainly gone to the moon. I have never really doubted that. Please don't get into the whole flat Earth thing. I don't want to start a fist fight here at this point. Just get. But we've certainly gotten there. So we've planted the moon, and of course, people argue about some of the photographs and some of the films and the angles and the thing. And I have a very dense piece of
good. Oh, sorry, I took it off. Good night, Betty, and try and have some nice dreams and see what tomorrow brings you. All right. Lots of love. Night, night. Erwin's getting tired. Now, what was it? Kristen has a piece of iron rock, and it rings when struck.
Oh.
Where'd you get that from? From BC?
Yeah.
There you go. All right. Oh, I got a kiss back. Thanks, Betty.
Have a good night, Betty.
Just an update on one of our other regular viewers, Maisie Rose. I'll have another look now, but I have not heard from her since I last knew she was in. No, it's not there. It's all right. I can't get it. I forgot I can't get it on this computer. But I've been checking my emails daily. So she did email me after we saw her last, Enzo, and she was still in hospital. But and I emailed her back, but I haven't had a reply yet. So I'm hoping she's okay. If she happens to be listening in the background here, just even put a thumbs up. But I haven't heard from her yet. So I'm still sending out good vibes to hope she's all right. Love the sciencey stuff. Yeah, sciencey stuff is pretty good. And Erwin, what time is it there, Erwin, where you are? It'd have to be something stupid like 4 a.m. or something, wouldn't it?
Yeah, that's about right.
Yeah, something silly. You need sleep, Mister. Yeah. Oh, what are we having a look at? Oh, there we go. What's this? Enzo?
These are some of those pictures I was talking about of some of the landing sites from the early Apollo days. You can see the shadow here. This is, of course, just the base part of the lander because the upper part of it gets ejected back up to reach the orbiter and go back into that. But there's a couple of them. This particular one where they had the moon buggy, where you can see the tracks where they drove all around and took different samples and put out equipment and stuff like that for testing, some of which is still going on today. They put a laser reflector mirror on the moon where they would send a laser, bounce it back and forth, and they're measuring the exact distance from the Earth to the moon there. That's actually how also it's so accurate that they're able to detect moonquakes with it. And that was done that one was in the later years, so it would have been early 70s at least. When they put that up, and they still use that today. So, yeah, we went up there.
I wonder why Elon doesn't just test it out or something. I wonder why Elon doesn't send someone to the moon first and set up something there, because at least we have had people on the moon, so we know what the gravity is and all that sort of thing. Maybe as a trial, like, because it's close too, like it's closer than Mars.
That's always kind of been the plan, is you set up something on the moon because it's relatively close. Sorry, surprise sneeze. Where it's close enough, the moon would be close enough where you can set up things. If things go wrong, you could send up emergency equipment or whatever, a rescue party or whatever it is within a few days, versus something that's a year, 6 months to a year away if it was on Mars. But basically that's where you do all your basics. Okay, we know in theory this would be how you would set up a base. It would be thus, but you have to do it in practice, So your practice base for Mars would be on the moon. That would be the natural thing for it.
Yeah, I don't know. If I were a lot younger and didn't have kids or whatever, I'd be tempted to put my name up and go. What the hell, knowing what I know now.
One way.
It's a one-way ticket, but we've all. If you die trying to do it, you die. We've all got to die at some point. So, like I say, an interesting story. How did she die? Oh, well, she was on her way to Mars. I mean, already you're going to go down, you're already going to go down in the history books, aren't you? I also saw footage of Buzz, not Lightyear, but Buzz Aldrin.
Yeah.
Really weird. Like, I know, it's like a little girl said something, asked him a question. What was it like? What was it like to be the first person on the moon or something like that. I can't remember what she asked him. And he really cryptically says, oh, well, I don't know, or something like that. And I'm like, what the fuck, Buzz? Like, I know people want to say it never happened, and I can see how it could be put to it never happened, but then that was why my question, well, okay, if it never happened, if Buzz and Armstrong never walked on the moon, then how did that stuff get there? And what was the answer to for him, you know, when they land and it's one small step for man, blah, 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 and he gets off, but you can film him getting off. That was on, the camera for that was on something else that they dropped first, wasn't it?
Actually, that was Buzz Aldrin himself holding the camera, where he crawled out first and like stood on the side of the lander to film almost straight down of Neil going down the ladder. Because to be honest, they had a pretty good idea that, you know, like the moon was fairly solid. It wasn't, as far as we knew, he would step off of the ladder and go sinking in up to his waist in dust and dirt. They didn't really know. But once they actually landed, they was like, okay, it's pretty solid. But Buzz actually went out first with the camera and was holding the camera off to the side while he was trying to, as best as he could, capture Neil going down the ladder and then stepping on the little pad at the very bottom of the ladder and then actually stepping the first.
And then the camera was left behind somehow when they took off, I think, because there's filming.
They had a different camera that, because I mean, we're still talking, you know, late 60s. That's not a difficult thing to design a camera to where when something moves, it would track it.
Yeah,
that's pretty simple stuff comparatively. And they had one where the upper part of the LEM, the Lunar Excursion Module, would eject off and it went back up into orbit, hooking up with the rest of the capsule, and then they would all go home.
Yeah. Oh, well, it's my understanding, actually, Enzo might know more about this than I do, because this part I haven't been paying much attention to, but it is my understanding that President Trump is wanting to get this happening again, get us back at the moon and all that. So he's very keen to start the space thing up again, which would be great. I think, and Debbie's got a point too. I think what's been happening as SD, we'll find out. I mean, money's gone somewhere it shouldn't have. Yeah, it's kind of weird. Like, I know they cut funding to NASA. I know NASA has struggled for a long time to do anything because funding just there to do it. But
they've always had a problem justifying what they need money for. You know, the reason, you know, it was in the chat, whoever it was that said it, why haven't we been back to the moon? Because it's really expensive. It's very expensive to send even just grams of weight of mass into Earth orbit, and then further out, it becomes even more expensive. So that's why you don't see them taking like fancy dress style outfits going to the moon or anything like that back in the day. It was like very regulated. They were allowed very, like, I can't remember what the actual weight was, but it was like something that's like, okay, you're allowed one personal item. And it was like a pen knife or something like that, something really small. And even that had to be weighed out and measured and calculated for. Every gram that went up had to be calculated for. So when you're getting that tight with your tolerances, because every gram costs a lot of money, you can't. That's not a regular thing you can do all the time.
What's a Hasselblad? What's a Hasselblad?
That's the type of camera that they had. Because all the Apollo astronauts had this camera that was like mounted onto their chest of their astronaut suit. And they did a lot of practicing before they ever went up there of taking pictures of things, because it didn't have a viewfinder that they could like look at, because, you know, they're wearing the fishbowl on the head. So they can't really like look down in any kind of like viewfinder or anything like that for this thing that's mounted on their chest. So they had to practice wearing the whole getup when they were on the ground of taking pictures of things without actually looking through a viewfinder and hoping it would turn out right, which ended up being where they got into a lot of trouble with people, with all these conspiracy people that we never went, because they ended up doctoring some of the pictures where they would edit out certain imperfections, because you're literally, if you're told, hey, take your camera, but you can't look through it, you have to film everything like this, there's going to be problems. You can probably practice and get kind of good with it, but it's certainly not going to be a perfect thing. And because they wanted like these pristine, beautiful images, doctored some of the photos a little bit where there were little issues, which they honestly shouldn't have done, because it became pretty obvious, over the last 50 years or however long it's been, to determine that, hey, wait a minute, this certainly is not the original pictures, because they had these little like hash marks that were actually engraved into the lenses. But then suddenly there's one here where it shouldn't be, and things like that. And it ended up being a lot of hassle, and honestly causing a lot of these problems.
10 months, Heather. Thank you, my lady. If anyone, I'm finishing up soon, but if anyone's interested, Heather popped up a few new videos yesterday. They're not long ones. What did I go for, Heather? About 10 minutes each or something. She went to a few really interesting houses, and there's, hello, I'm Frank. What's his name? Frank someone. She does this funny thing. If you're Australian, you'll get it. National Tiles. But yeah, I love some of the places that Heather and Werner and stuff find, just urban exploring type stuff. But head on over to Heather's channel when I finish here and have a look at them if you're interested. She was very busy yesterday, put out quite a Frank Walker. Yeah, that's it. Is it a members only one? All right, you might have to become a member. Yeah, it was very funny. It was very funny. Yeah, look, so much going on. I just, I'm kind of excited, really, though, for the world at the moment. Once some of these crazy people are combated, and hopefully with more that comes out, people wake up a little bit and go, oh, what he said was right, or whatever. I'm already there. Like I've researched it to the point where I'm exhausted. So I know what's going on, and I think America is going to get like what is he calling it? Your golden age? Yeah, I think you're going to get there. I really do. I think it's going to be brilliant, so long as no one evil comes in and does anything, that they shouldn't. I think this time next year, I'm hoping that the world will be sitting pretty, or at least especially Australia, because we've got the Chinese there at the moment on the other side. I don't want. I'm pretty sure. I think we'll be okay.
I think we're going to be okay. I think everything's going to work out.
Yeah, I think so. It's been brilliant. And Heather, lots of love to you. And yeah, head on over. I'm going to, it's 2:00, just after 3 minutes past 2 p.m. because we don't have daylight savings here. So I'm going to finish up and go and cook myself some eggs from my chickens. I've got plenty of eggs I could share with. But
show off, you rich.
Yeah. And thanks for coming, Ian. I like that Ian doesn't get all pissy with no matter what. Ian's terrific. He has his opinions, and he's one of those rare birds that's like, yeah, all right, like he doesn't care. Do you know what I mean? You can actually have a conversation with Ian. Jethro, what's Jethro got to say? It's been a great show, Karen, Enzo. Thank you. And look, as I say, I might not be here next week on Friday night, Saturday morning, but I'll try and pop on through the week, only because I'm going to visit my grandbaby, and there's probably, I doubt if I've got a little toddler around me at my son's house that I'll be able to take off 2 hours without being interrupted. So to the rest of the world, may only good things come to us all this week. Let's hope and pray. And much love out to Maisie Rose. If she somehow hears this, I hope she's okay. Carla, I'll talk to you soon. Tanya, thank you, my love. I promise I'll wear a crown next week. I popped the flowers on for you a bit too late. Kirsten, say hey to everybody in Virginia City for me. And if you're going past Connie's house at all, tell her I love her, and I do message her, but she doesn't seem to get them. That's it. I love everybody, and I'll talk to you all later. And thanks for being here. Bye.